Hi y'all, it's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I am here sharing with you a UV resin project. I'm actually making some charms here. I'm using the Let's Resin UV resin, which cures under a UV light, so I can actually get in and cure one level and build it up with different things underneath it, and I love it. Now, resin is new for me. I had jumped in full force because I just fell in love with it. And it is so freeing just to be able to do what you want with these projects. Now, I started with UV resin because I just wanted to learn and get things done quickly. I don't have a lot of patience when it comes to letting things cure or sit. So the UV was perfect for me to start. Now, resin typically has air bubbles in it, and when you're doing a clear resin or any type of resin, you don't want to have those air bubbles in there, because if it's clear, you're going to see those bubbles in there and it's going to take away from the look of your project. It is a handmade item, so some air bubbles are going to be there. It just is going to happen. Take your time. In order to get those air bubbles out, you see me using a lighter. Now you can use a lighter, you can use a heat gun. I've used my embossing heat gun that I use for making cards or embossing items like that, and it worked just fine. Open charms that I'm playing with here, I have started them on some tape that is actually for resin, and what that does is it will sit on that tape and make a seal around those so that when you add the resin, it will not seep out from underneath it and while you're waiting for it to dry. I've just used an alcohol swab there because I was handling the pieces and I didn't want my fingerprints to get caught in between the layers as I'm doing this. The little heart there off to the side that's in the mold, I've added some dried flowers to that. Here you can see that I'm adding some flowers and a key. Oh, it's just, that key is just so cute. I just can't wait to see how this all turns out. Another heart charm there. I'm just in there just getting it built up. So I have a layer of the resin wet down there, and I'm putting the dried flowers on top, and I'm making sure that they're in that resin so that there's not going to be any air trapped under there. And so I'm just loading up this. That's some baby's breath. These are really small charms, but I just love the little mini things. And those of you that have watched my channel and they see me doing paper products, you know I make a lot of mini stuff in those as well. So it's just, I just love it. And I guess for me, it's like if it's a mistake, well, it's only a little mistake, right? It's only a small little thing. Now this dragonfly, I did some dragonflies first, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to build up this mica powder on here. And so I used that gold. It's it's actually like a chameleon green. And I put that on those edges, and then that chameleon, that blue in there. And then I just used some of this glitter right down the body. And I'm just going to lay it in there and just move it on around with my silicone sponge there. And right over the top of that goes more UV resin. And now I just use my little silicone brush and I'm moving the resin around, heating the tops of it so that we can get any air bubbles out, and then right under that UV lamp. Now here I'm just adding some more of that UV resin over the top to start getting those finished up, making sure my edges all the way to the edge have UV resin so that it'll have a nice dome on there, and it will layer out. It's self-leveling, which makes it really nice. The other thing you want to think about when you're doing this, as you're building up from the front of it, so the first layer you put down is going to be the first thing seen. We're actually looking at the backs of these charms. So when you pull them off and you turn them around, you can see that's the front. And I had a little air bubble in there that was just a little more than I wanted to deal with. It was just a little too big. So I just used my little mini drill. I drilled it out, and this is how you would fix that. You would drill out the little hole, clean it, make sure it's all clean, and then you're going to put some more resin in there, fill in it, and then you're going to go ahead and pop it back under that UV light, and it'll be good as new. So there you see me putting some more UV resin in there, and then right over the top of that, and one more time over that key. Didn't that just turn out beautiful? I'm just so excited the way these turned out. And right under that light, I'm just pulling that resin all up to the edges. And that little heart turned out really nice. I didn't have to do too much with that. I'm just putting the dome on the front part of it, making sure there's no bubbles. And then I'm putting some more mica powder on the back of that dragonfly. That way, this is the back side of it, and you're going to just see a little bit through there, and it gives it a finished touch on the back. The layers of this is just so beautiful. I can't wait to show you when I flip it and get it out of its mold there. This is, I think the total process from start to finish on these items was a total of 1 hour and 3 minutes. So it does take time, but that's going through and curing each layer. As when you're doing a regular resin, it takes 24 hours to cure. So if you're trying to do levels in that, it's going to take you a little bit longer. So here you see I'm pulling them out, and I'm going to go ahead and just put the final cover, the final dome on these charms here. And you just take your time. This is sped up so fast. You just take your time and you go over it slowly so you know that it has time to flow out to the edges. Resin will flow out to the edge, and it usually will stop flowing there unless you really overflow it. I'm still getting the hang of this, so when I pull my things out, it definitely has some cleanup that I have to do on them. Now I put a little bit of alcohol ink on the back of that dragonfly because I just wanted a more finished look for it. And when you do that, I put it under that lamp so it'll dry. That alcohol ink will dry fairly quick. Now you see I just put way too much resin in there because it was already about full. So trying to dome that when it's full already, you end up with a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and I cleaned up what I could, and I'll end up cleaning with my deburring tool afterwards. And I'm pulling them out and making sure they're cured on both sides, and I'm just running them through the light a few times, making sure they're totally set before I get these things started. Now for the open charms, I did flip them over, and I'm putting a top coat on these as well so that they will be covered evenly on both sides. You see me there with my little deburring tool trying to clean up the messes, and the little alcohol wipes trying to make sure I don't have any fingerprints on them as I stick them back under and making sure that they are fully cured. Well, here you go, guys. They are cleaned up and ready to go. Let's see if we can get those lights not to reflect so bad. So there's that little daisy with the copper glitter. There's that key. I love the way that turned out. And one of the hearts. You can see, the pink flower behind it, and the little baby's breath. Yes, that's baby's breath. So these are little. And then the heart that came from the mold, not the bale. The bale, and not that one. That was just a little open heart shape that I decided that I was going to use it. And the dragonfly, I used a different mold on this one than I did the others. And I really like the way it turned out. I used the mica powder on there. I used the purple and the sage, and then down the center I used that copper glitter. So I really think that turned out adorable. Now it's just a matter of finding pieces that I want to add these to. So thanks for joining me, guys. I appreciate all of you.